The woman at the Kroger turned her phone toward me in the produce aisle, and I watched myself cry on a screen the size of my hand. 200,000 strangers had already watched it. The caption underneath said, "Boomer Grandpa loses it." The boy who filmed me was asleep in my basement at that exact moment, on a mattress I paid for, under a roof I still owned. My name is Walter. I am 73 years old. I spent 41 years carrying mail in the same town, and I buried my wife Doreen on a Tuesday in October 2 years ago. My grandson Tyler is 22. He has been living in my basement, rent-free, since the spring before Doreen passed. What Tyler did not know, while he was filming me, was that I had a manila folder in the locked drawer of my desk upstairs. Inside that folder were photographs, dates, a small black recorder no bigger than a key, a name and a phone number written in pencil at the top of a yellow legal pad. The name belonged to a woman from the state who had been calling me, quietly, since the first week of June. I sat in the driveway for an hour after I left the Kroger. I did not cry that time. I was done with crying. I was thinking about a barbecue and a folding chair and what my grandson had said when he thought I could not hear him. I drove home from the Kroger with a bag of bananas on the passenger seat and my hands at 10 and 2 like I was taking a driving test. I pulled into the driveway. I turned off the engine. I sat there. The neighbor's wife, Brenda, had not meant to hurt me. She had stopped me by the apples and put a hand on my arm and said something I will not forget. Brenda lowered her voice the way she always did before saying something she thought was kind. "Walter, honey, I do not know if you have seen this. My daughter sent it to me. I thought you should know." I said thank you. I said it twice. I left the cart in the aisle and walked to my truck with the bananas still in my hand because I had forgotten to put them down. In the driveway, I watched the front window of my own house. The curtain was pulled crooked from the inside because Tyler liked to peek out at delivery drivers and then pretend he was not home. I could see the blue light of his phone through the gap. I want to tell you something I have never said out loud to another person. I had been planning this for 5 months before that video ever existed. The video just told me what week to move. Let me back up. Tyler moved into my basement the April before Doreen died. He said it was temporary. He said his roommate situation had collapsed. He said he needed 3 months to get on his feet. Doreen squeezed my hand under the kitchen table and said, "Of course, sweetheart. Family is family." She used that word with him, sweetheart. He used a different one back. Tyler always called her G, just the letter. He said it was short for grandma, but quicker. Doreen smiled the first time. She did not smile the 10th time. The first thing I noticed was the groceries. I would buy a package of pork chops on Monday, and by Wednesday, there would be 1 chop left, wrapped in foil, sitting alone in the back of the fridge like a survivor. I said something once. Just once. Walter to Tyler, in the kitchen, on a Saturday morning. "Tyler, did you eat the rest of the chops?" Tyler did not look up from his phone. "Shrinkage, Grandpa. Happens in every household. Read a book about supply chains." He laughed at his own joke. Doreen did not. She wiped the counter twice in the same spot and went upstairs. That was the first cruelty. Small, almost nothing. The kind of thing you swallow because the boy is family and his mother, my daughter Linda, is already exhausted from raising him alone after her husband walked out. But I started counting. I want you to count with me. There were 3 things missing from that house by the end of summer that I had not given permission to lose. First, my fishing rods. 2 of them. Good ones. The Shimano that Doreen bought me for our 30th, and the older ugly stick my father had handed me when I turned 16. I noticed them gone in August. I asked Tyler. Tyler shrugged without looking up. "They were broken, Grandpa. The reels were shot." I tossed them. A week later, a man at the hardware store, a man I had known since 1982, stopped me by the register. "Walter, I bought your rods off Marketplace. The kid said you told him to sell them. Just want to make sure that was on the up and up." I told him it was fine. I told him to enjoy them. I went out to the truck and sat with my hands on the wheel and did not turn the key for 10 minutes. Second, Doreen's reputation. That one took longer to find. After she died, Tyler started telling stories about her to his friends on the phone. In the basement with the door cracked open so I could hear, I think, because he wanted me to. Tyler, to a friend on speaker. G was cold, man. She never liked me. She used to look at me like I was a stain on her couch. That was a lie. Doreen had baked him cookies on his birthday for 22 years. She kept a card from his kindergarten graduation in her bedside drawer. She defended him to me when I complained. She is the reason he had a basement to live in at all. And she could not defend herself. That is the part that sat in my chest like a stone. She was gone and he was rewriting her, and there was no one to correct him except me. And I did not know yet how to do it without burning my own daughter down with him. Third, my dignity. That one he filmed. The anniversary of Doreen's death fell on a Tuesday last October. I did what I always do. I drove to the cemetery in the morning. I put yellow roses on her stone because she did not like red. I sat on the little bench the groundskeeper had let me bolt down beside her plot. I talked to her for about an hour. When I came home, I made coffee. I sat at the kitchen table with our wedding photograph. And yes, I cried. A man can cry on the day his wife has been gone 2 years. A man can cry in his own kitchen. I did not hear Tyler on the stairs. I did not see the phone. I found out 4 days later, standing next to a stack of Honeycrisp apples, when Brenda turned her screen toward me. Before I tell you what I did next, I want you to stay with me for one moment. If you have ever sat in a driveway in your own truck and felt like a stranger in your own life, you already know this feeling. You know the way the steering wheel feels colder than it should? You know how long an hour can be when you are not ready to walk through your own front door? Stay with me. I am almost at the part that matters. I went inside. Tyler was on the couch in a hooded sweatshirt with his feet on the coffee table. Walter, calm. Tyler, take your feet off the table. Tyler glanced up, then back at his phone. Chill, Grandpa. I did not answer. I walked past him. I went into my office. I closed the door. I opened the locked drawer of the desk, and I looked at the folder. I want to tell you what was in that folder, but first I have to tell you about June. In June, 6 months before the video, I got a phone call from a woman named Eileen who worked for the state. She introduced herself plainly. She said she was an investigator looking into a disability claim filed under my grandson's name. She said the claim involved a back injury Tyler said he had suffered the previous fall. There was no back injury. Tyler had never been to a hospital. Tyler lifted a kayak over his head in my driveway in May. I had watched him do it through the kitchen window while Doreen was still alive enough to roll her eyes. Eileen asked me if I would be willing to help. She asked carefully. She said she understood family was complicated. She said no one would force me. I said yes before she finished the sentence. From that day on, I kept the folder. Photographs of Tyler hauling a generator across the lawn for a friend. A photograph of him on a jet ski at the lake on the 4th of July. The date stamps from my own phone, which I had learned to use for exactly this. A printout of a marketplace listing where he was advertising himself for moving jobs, $50 an hour, no questions asked. And one more thing. A recording. In August, my brother-in-law threw a barbecue. Tyler came because there was free food. He sat in a folding chair with a paper plate on his knee and bragged to a cousin he barely knew. The recorder was in my shirt pocket. It was the size of a car key. I had bought it online for $34. Tyler, on the recording, with his mouth full. Bro, the back thing is a joke. I have not lifted anything heavier than a beer in 9 months on paper. On paper, you know what I mean? In real life, I am fine. I could deadlift you right now. The cousin laughed. Tyler laughed harder. I sat 10 feet away with a paper plate of potato salad and a small black device in my pocket, and I did not change my expression once. You probably already know the kind of young man I mean. The kind who has never once considered that an old man in a folding chair might be listening on purpose. After Brenda showed me the video at the Kroger, I drove home. I sat in the driveway. I went inside. I went to my office. I opened the drawer. I looked at the folder. Then I picked up the phone and called Eileen. Eileen on the line, calm as a Sunday. Walter, good to hear from you. Is everything all right? I told her about the video. I told her how many views it had. I told her what the caption said. I told her my grandson had filmed me crying on the anniversary of my wife's death and posted it for strangers to laugh at. She was quiet for a long moment. That was the second silence that mattered that day. Eileen, finally. Walter, are you ready for me to file? I said yes. She said it would take a week. She said they would want the recording, the photographs, the dates. She said she already had most of it. She just needed me to send the audio. I sent it that night. Before I tell you what happened the morning Eileen filed, stay with me for one more breath. If you have ever waited a week for something you knew was going to break your own family in half, you understand why I slept with the folder on the nightstand instead of in the desk. You understand why I checked the lock on the office door twice each night. You understand why I started making my coffee at 4 in the morning because the basement was quiet then. The week between the call and the filing was the longest week of my life since the week Doreen was in the hospital. Tyler noticed nothing. He ate my groceries. He laughed at his phone. He told me, on Wednesday, that the video was at 400,000 views now and that he might get a brand deal out of it. Walter to Tyler, mild. A brand deal. Tyler, grinning. Yeah, Grandpa. People love a sad old guy. It is a whole genre. I nodded. I poured my coffee. I went back to my office. The morning Eileen filed, it was a Thursday. I knew because the recycling went out on Thursdays, and I was at the curb in my robe when the unmarked car pulled up across the street. 2 of them came to the door. Eileen and a younger man with a badge clipped to his belt. They were polite. They asked for Tyler by his full name. Tyler came up from the basement in sweatpants and bare feet and a face that had not yet caught up to the situation. Tyler, blinking. What is this? Eileen, calm. Tyler, we need to talk to you about a claim you filed in October of last year. I want to tell you about Tyler's face in that moment. I will not describe the room. I will not describe the light. I will tell you only this. His mouth opened. It stayed open for almost 3 full seconds before any sound came out. And in those 3 seconds, his eyes went to me. Just once. Quick. I did not look away. I did not gloat. I did not say a word. I stood by the kitchen counter with my coffee cup in my hand, and I let him look. He looked back at Eileen. Tyler, smaller now. Can I get dressed first? She said yes. She said, take your time. She said they would wait on the porch. He went down to the basement. I heard him on the stairs. I heard a drawer open. I heard him on the phone, low and fast, to his mother. I heard him say the word Grandpa twice, in a tone I had never heard him use before. When he came back up, dressed, he stopped in the kitchen doorway. He looked at me. He looked at the coffee cup. He looked at the folder on the kitchen table, which I had placed there 10 minutes earlier, closed, with nothing visible, just a plain manila folder sitting next to the salt shaker. He saw it. I saw him see it. Tyler, quiet. Grandpa, what is that? Walter, quieter. That is the rest of your week, Tyler. He did not answer. He picked up his keys from the counter slowly, like they weighed more than they did the day before. He set them back down. He walked out the front door to where Eileen was waiting. The screen door closed behind him with a small sound I had heard 10,000 times in 40 years of living in that house. It had never sounded like that before. My daughter Linda came over that evening. She cried in my kitchen for an hour. She asked me how long I had known. She asked me why I had not told her. She asked me if I had any idea what I had done to her son. I let her finish. I made her a cup of tea. I sat across from her at the same table where Tyler had eaten my pork chops and called it shrinkage. Walter to Linda, gentle, Linda. He filmed me crying for your mother. He posted it. 500,000 people watched it. He has been lying to the state for over a year. He sold my father's fishing rod and told me it was broken. He told his friends your mother was cold to him. Your mother who kept his kindergarten card in her drawer until the day she died. Linda did not answer for a long moment. She looked at her hands. Linda, finally. I did not know about the rods. Walter, I know you did not. She came around the table. She put her arms around my shoulders the way she used to when she was small enough to do it standing up. She did not say she was sorry for him. She said she was sorry for me. There is a difference. I felt it. Tyler took a plea. Community service. Restitution to the state on a payment plan that will outlast my lifetime. No jail time because Eileen was kind, and because I asked her to be. He moved out of my basement on a Saturday in November. He moved in with his mother, 2 towns over, in a bedroom barely big enough for the mattress I let him keep. Linda calls me on Sundays now. She did not used to. She does now. The basement is quiet. I went down there once the week after Tyler left to clean. I found 3 of my missing coffee mugs, a phone charger I had been looking for since spring, and, behind the dryer, the second fishing rod, the ugly stick, my father's. Not broken, not sold, just hidden. For a day Tyler must have planned and then forgotten about. I carried it upstairs. I cleaned it at the kitchen table. I oiled the reel. I set it by the back door. The video is still online somewhere. I do not look for it. Brenda from the Kroger told me last month that her daughter took it down off her own feed and said she was sorry for ever sharing it. I told Brenda to tell her daughter it was all right. I meant it. On the 2nd anniversary of Doreen's death, the one that came after all of this, I drove to the cemetery in the morning. I put yellow roses on her stone. I sat on the little bench. I talked to her for about an hour. I told her about the folder. I told her about the recording. I told her about the rod behind the dryer. I told her the basement was quiet now. I did not cry that morning. I just sat there with my hand flat on the top of her stone, where the sun had warmed it, and I listened to nothing at all. When I got home, I made coffee. I sat at the kitchen table with our wedding photograph. I did not lock the office door that night. I did not need to anymore. The fishing rod is still by the back door. I have not used it yet. I am saving it for spring.